Well, when Mike invited me to this event back in June, what I wanted to talk about back then was very different from what I think needs to be talked about today. Since the election, every day the situation has gotten progressively worse. I've rewritten these words continually. I was going to talk about technologies and policies that could help mitigate the worst aspects of abrupt climate change. But I don't think it makes sense to discuss solutions quite so enthusiastically in a political environment that's antithetical to this discussion. I've been thinking a lot about the famous quote from Pericles, the Athenian general and statesman who observed 2,500 years ago that just because you're not interested in politics doesn't mean that politics won't take an interest in you. Since November 8th, the focus now must be on resisting the rise of ultranationalism in the United States and abroad. Not just because white nationalism is morally odious, but because ultranationalists universally deny the science of climate change. We know that reducing humanity's carbon footprint requires a reliable international framework for cooperation, like the Paris Agreement. But ultranationalists will never participate in international agreements to reduce carbon emissions. Philippine strongman Rodrigo Duterte and Donald Trump both have indicated that their intent is to withdraw from the Paris Accord. The reactionary parties in Britain and France and Australia all deny climate science. We have a glimmer of hope in Austria, where the defeat of Hofer's Freedom Party happened recently, but they still got 46% of the vote, and so they're not going away. In the US, professional climate denialist Myron Ebell of CEI heads Trump's EPA transition team. Bob Walker, senior Trump advisor, says Trump will eliminate NASA's Earth science research programs. We've seen this happen already in Australia, where Malcolm Turnbull's government has defunded climate science at CSIRO. And they've approved the enormous Carmichael coal mine, so they're going to be exporting coal to India. Scott Pruitt, longtime enemy of the EPA, will head the EPA. And this morning, it was confirmed that ExxonMobil's CEO, Rex Tillerson, will be Secretary of State. And as a bonus, former Texas Governor Rick Perry will be the Energy Secretary. And yes. Oh, excellent. Well, that should be fun. He dances nicely. He's kind of entertaining to watch. He might be the most fun appointment in that gang. So it'd be hard to select a cabinet that's really more inimical to environmental and climate issues. So now the game is to prevent the advanced democracies from falling to ultranationalism. I'm not happy to report that our priority for the foreseeable future must be political activism. I hate politics. I would much rather be graphing environmental data in Excel. But in November, we saw neo-Nazis throwing fascist salutes in the Ronald Reagan building in Washington, D.C. So political activism must be our focus. Timothy Snyder, history professor at Yale University, has given us 20 points to guide our resistance to autocracy. I picked 2 to highlight tonight. Not all 20 are worth reading. First, defend an institution. Institutions can't defend themselves, and the Rex Putin-Trump axis is coming for science, especially climate science, evolutionary biology. Trump's chief strategist, Steve Bannon, has signaled that he intends to take down the New York Times the same way Gawker was taken down. Also, the past must be rewritten to support reactionary mythologies, so history will be targeted. As Russian journalist Masha Gessen notes in her essay, Rules for Survival in an Autocracy, institutions are fragile. It took Putin a year to take over the Russian media and 4 years to dismantle its electoral system. So pick an institution and defend it. Subscribe to your favorite source of journalism with real cash money. A couple of months back, when I saw the Washington Post was leading the charge against Trump, I subscribed. Second, practice corporeal politics. Professor Snyder says, power wants your body softening in your chair. It wants you dissipating your emotions on the computer screen. So make new friends with unfamiliar people. Go to unfamiliar places like this, march in the streets. And events like this can be a model for political participation and activism in the future. I was very heartened to hear 500 scientists today were out there protesting somewhere down there. That's very encouraging. In 2016, as Pericles warned, politics has taken an interest in us. And unfortunately, we have to take an interest in politics. Thank you very much.